There are only about 30 commercial maple syrup producers in the Old Dominion. Sales of maple syrup earned them about $66,000 a few years ago. But there are plenty of hobbyists who also tap sugar maple trees to draw sap for personal use or local sales. Virginia Tech researchers would love to see those numbers grow. In fact, they're sponsoring the development of the Virginia Maple Syrup Association to boost sales of the sweet treat and help new producers learn the skills necessary to make maple syrup.
We're working with about 100 different producers in Virginia with the help of the Department of Agriculture, VDACs in Richmond, and we're helping to address some of their challenges about starting up or expanding their businesses. And right now there's a large cadre of producers in Highland County, and there are quite a few down further south in Wise County. Most of our producers are in the western part of the state, along the borders with West Virginia and Kentucky. So they're fairly localized there. We have producers in over 20 counties in Virginia, but most of them are unknown to the outside markets. So we're working now to connect those producers to outside markets as well.
Virginia Tech professor Tom Hammett with the College of Natural Resources and Environment has recruited a team to help him build the association. Daniel Grizzard will conduct market research for maple syrup sales and festivals to increase sales. Guinevere Unterbrink has been working to connect producers with each other as well as publicize the new group.
We'll definitely be going to the Highland Maple Syrup Festival and trying to track some of the economic impact that has, not just in terms of the people visiting the area and purchasing maple syrup, but also seeing who's eating at restaurants once they have left the festival, who's staying at hotels during their time there, because these events that bring large numbers of people to the area are a great way to stimulate the whole economy and not just help the maple syrup producers.
So it's called the Virginia Maple Syrup Association because right now a lot of people don't even know maple syrup is produced in Virginia. Before I was on this project, I was unaware of it. So I was talking to one of the producers and she mentioned that and that it would probably be better to call it Maple Syrup Association because it's more focused. But we do also work with people who produce other tree syrups.
Many Virginians don't realize they can buy local maple syrup here, much less taste syrup from other tree varieties. That's a growing niche market for some producers like Christoph Herbie of Highland County, who taps both black walnut and sugar maple trees every winter.
Our farm is located on 200 acres. Most of it is Appalachian hardwood forest, and we produce maple syrup from trees right here on our farm. The walnut syrup is produced exclusively from the trees on our farm. We've got about 1,200 black walnut trees that are tapped to harvest the sap and make syrup. And we also tap maple trees on some of the adjacent properties. Across the road is the McDowell Battlefield. We tap maple trees on that land, and we also tap maple trees on some of the adjacent farms. So there's a lot of collaboration that goes into producing syrups out here.
Located just east of the West Virginia state line, Herbie says Highland County has the perfect altitude and climate for growing sugar maple trees. Plus, the freeze and thaw weather cycles of late winter really gets the tree sap flowing.
We tap little holes into the trees, and through a system of tubing, we collect all the sap, which we then bring here to our sugar house, and we boil it down. And it takes hours and hours, days really, of boiling to take hundreds and thousands of gallons of sap and boil it down into sweet syrup, because the sap comes out of the tree a little over 1% sugar, and we're boiling it all the way to 68% sugar. So a lot of steam has to come off, and all that is boiled over a wood fire, which eventually gets us to having that delicious Virginia maple syrup.
Commercial syrup makers can tap hundreds of trees each winter, but you don't need a lot of trees to produce at least some syrup. Professor Hammett says he knows of hobbyists in Blacksburg and Charlottesville who tap mature maple trees right in town just for fun.
The equipment's fairly simple. In fact, we have a lot of what I call backyard syrup makers, and they're actually cooking it in a turkey fire, a little stove, a propane stove that you might cook your turkey in and deep fry other things like French fries. So we're using that same mechanism to boil down sap. It's a pretty simple process, and at the end what you do is you finish it, and you could do that on the stove in your kitchen. You don't need any special equipment for that. So many of our producers are making 1 or 2 gallons, and they're just giving it away at Christmas time or maybe selling a few bottles locally at a farmer's market or something like that.
Hammett says many landowners with wooded lots don't realize they could start a side business of producing tree syrups. Unterbrink says you can do it anywhere in the state where you have enough of the right tree species.
There's people all over the state following the range of sugar maple, but I would say the most populous counties for maple syrup production are Highland County and Wise County. But it's all over the state, so. We even have some producers who use red maple in Virginia Beach, so. And you can actually mix different types of maple sap together to get different flavored syrup.
One of the really special things about getting good local maple syrup is that it comes in different grades, and that depends on what time of year we've harvested it. So the very first sap of the season is going to give us a really light, delicate flavored syrup, kind of golden in color. And then as the weather warms up a little bit, the trees are releasing more nutrients. They're getting ready to produce their leaves, and so there's more flavor compounds. There are more flavor compounds in the sap, and that's what leads to a darker, richer syrup.
Herbie started his maple syrup operation when he realized his property was already an old sugar camp. But he realized with all the black walnut trees on the farm, he had an opportunity to branch out into walnut syrup. The production methods are the same, but equipment needs are slightly different. That's the type of knowledge the Virginia Maple Syrup Association could pass on to members, as well as help producers meet the standards needed to brand their syrup as Virginia's finest and other marketing tools.
We're not trying to compete with the big brands you see on the supermarket shelves, but just getting the word out that there's syrup made right here in Virginia and that you can come here and try it, but you can also find it in supermarkets and specialty stores throughout the state.
Herbie says you're not going to find black walnut syrup in Canada or Vermont. It's a product unique to the Allegheny Highlands mountain region. That's just one of the marketing advantages they hope to take advantage of next season. In Highland County, Virginia, I'm Ricky Gibson reporting.